Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. This is a collection of linked, kind of connected short stories featuring a brother and sister team, Yuma and Chizumi. And I gotta say, this is one of the weirder Junji Ito's. In fact, I think it's one of my least favorites. Junji Ito, I think, is a master. Why he's such a good horror mangaka is that he finds these things, he almost zeroes in on these things that shouldn't be scary, almost like he's zeroing into our collective subconscious and finding some weird thing that you would never think was scary before, and he makes it terrifying. And this one is, this is another weird take on horror, but part of me finds it silly and just odd. But I guess that almost makes sense because it's almost like he makes you feel like he's describing a personal horror, subjective horror. Almost like some people like the color blue, some people like the color green. You can't explain why. Some of his tales are just, you can't even explain why they're so terrifying. It's like, oh, there's a tree that has hair growing from it. That shouldn't be scary, but he makes it scary. This one, it was just I thought the premise was a little, it didn't really hit me as far as great terror. It was a fascinating read because I had no idea where the story was going, and it has a lot of crazy gore and stuff, but the whole premise seemed a little silly to me. So let's get started. A nice little softcover collection, embossed cover. It's kind of nice, and not just pretty much normal size for a manga. Not too big, but let's crack this open. We have a nice color front piece, Dissolving Classroom by Junji Ito. Pretty nice. And we have the contents page. And now, so this is broken up into various short stories. Almost all of them are about Yuma and Chizumi. They throw in 2 bonus horror stories, little short stories, just to round out the package. Dissolving Classroom. And as you can see, Junji Ito, the same art style he's had for decades. Everyone's beautiful in his comics. Well, most people are. Or I should say, the beautiful people are incredibly beautiful until they're not. So we're at a school. It's the first day of class for this new student named Yuma Azawa. We shall call him Yuma. And as soon as he gets up before the class to address his fellow students, he just starts yelling out, "I'm terribly sorry. I'm so very sorry. I'm so sorry." And everyone's laughing like, what is his problem? What a weirdo. And even in the hallways, anybody even just walks by him, he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He keeps apologizing. He breaks a vase while they're cleaning up the class, and he just can't stop him. So he's just freaking out. Just, oh my God, I can't apologize enough. Oh my God. The teacher's like, "It was a vase. Don't worry about it. Just clean it up." These bullies pick on him. And they're like, "Come on, apologize with more effort." And they beat him up in the bathroom and they give him a swirly. But there's this one one girl, and she's kind of intrigued by Yuma. And her name is Kaiko Arisu. We'll call her Kaiko we don't have to do her full name. Kaiko. And she tries to be nice to him. And of course, he apologizes profusely to her. On her way home from school, she's walking down the street, and all of a sudden, this creepy little girl shows up. I already kind of gave it away from the cover. This is Chizumi. And that typical horrifying Junji Ito, those eyes with the veins in them. And no matter how fast Kaiko runs, Chizumi's there. She pops up. Almost in a supernatural way. There's no way she could have ran around the block and, come up behind her. Or in front of her, I should say. And then the little girl says, "Give me your brains. Let me suck out your soft, juicy brains." And she starts chasing her. And Keiko runs right in front of a truck. Now, we fast forward a little. We're in a hospital. Keiko's okay, no broken bones. And her parents are there. And they're wondering, why would she run out in front of a truck like that? When Keiko finally wakes up, she tells them about this little girl. And then Yuma shows up. And of course, Yuma is just like, "I'm really so terribly sorry." As you can see, he's like emphatically saying it. The lettering is almost like he's yelling it out. "I'm so sorry. What happened to your daughter?" And he says, "It's my little sister's fault." The father's starting to get angry. The father's just like, "What do you mean? You had something to do with this?" And he just keeps apologizing. So I guess he comes back every day, and eventually the parents are like mollified. They're like, "Oh, well, seems very polite. He apologizes a lot." He reveals, Yuma reveals to the parents that his parents had passed away, and it was just him and his sister. And when she's finally released from the hospital, it's almost like at this point they're kind of pals. And of course, he keeps apologizing, and he tells her it's his fault. He tells her that Chizumi used to be a sweet little girl, but she changed. Her heart became twisted, and he blames himself for that. When he tells her that when he was little, when his parents were still alive, they were very strict. They'd yell at him a lot. And his outlet for this was to kill small animals, bugs and frogs and snakes. He thinks this is what caused Chizumi to change. It's divine wrath. He thinks that Chizumi is possessed by a snake. I love when he does shit like this, Ito. And Keiko doesn't believe it. And so apparently, Chizumi's going around bothering lots of people in town. And Yuma goes around to every family and profusely apologizes on hand and knee. So it's becoming this thing where it's like everyone's talking about this weird little girl that is harassing people, and then this guy comes by. So he's apologizing to this one family, and Keiko runs over. It's almost like this uncontrollable urge. She says, "Please allow me to apologize too. Please forgive us." Just like him. And he says, "I'm sorry you had to apologize on my behalf." Once again, he's apologizing. She says, "Actually, it felt kind of good to do that." And then she says, "Yuma, can I come over to your place?" And he says, "I'm too busy. I have other people to apologize to." It's like his hobby. It seems like an uncontrollable urge, actually. But also, she has this idea that she could befriend Chizumi and make her a better person. He says, "You don't understand. She's pure evil. It's a bad plan." So she says, "Fuck it. I know where they live. I'm going over there and introducing myself to Chizumi." When she opens the door, this rancid smell comes out. And Chizumi shows up. She's so terrifying. Oh, evil imp. And she says, "I came here to be your friend." And Chizumi says, "You could be my friend if you let me slurp out your brains." And she kind of says, "Chizumi, how do you feel that your brother has to go around apologizing for you all the time? Don't you feel bad about that?" And she says, he feels like he's died and gone to heaven. He apologizes because he likes it. It gives him pleasure. He's overtaken with pleasure when he apologizes. So now we're getting into some weird, sick, psychological weirdness. And she tries to reason with Chizumi. And Chizumi tells Keiko he didn't kill those animals because he was so stressed out about his abusive parents. It was for the ritual. He was trying to summon the devil, and it worked. And I guess one day, Chizumi is sure, one day he met the devil. And that's when he started apologizing. But not to apologize to anyone in front of him. He prays to the devil for forgiveness. And then the apologies began to be accompanied by the most exquisite pleasure. This is a weird idea. This is what I was talking about, guys, the premise of this. This is pretty much the gist of it. Well, it gets more horrifying, but... So, Kaiku opens this cupboard and she sees the parents' heads. It looks like their brains are oozing out of the sockets. And she runs screaming. She tells, she goes to dinner with her parents. And her parents have this, like, it looks like their noses are running profusely. And they're all acting kind of spaced out. And she says, "What's the matter, Mom and Dad?" They're like, "Oh, it must be allergies. We've been like this all day. And it's making us feel kind of spaced out." In fact, she didn't even serve dinner. They're all sitting down at dinner, but there's no food on the plates. And she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so woozy." So she just says, "That's okay. I'm not hungry." She goes to bed. And she's like, "Oh, no, I'm sniffing. I think I caught their cold." The next day in school, everyone is sniffing. And the teacher, his nose is running profusely, like disgustingly so. All the kids start getting it. Kaiku seems to have it. She says, "I feel so woozy." And then the bullies start to pick on Yuma again. And he gets down on his hands and knees, apologizing profusely. And then he even kisses the guy's feet. And that makes, it seems like all of a sudden, their snot, it's beyond snot now. This is their brains coming out through their orifices. This is so gross. And when Kaiku comes over to defend Yuma, they turn around and this is what they look like. Ah, God, Ito's so good. That being nasty. Just that all their brains are leaking out of their head. They kind of run towards Kaiku, but then they fall over dead. Then Chizumi shows up, and she says, "Ooh, yummy brains melting out of their heads." And she starts licking the brains out. And she tells her what's going on. She says, Chizumi says, "My brother's apologies make people's brains melt. It must be the evil electromagnetic waves passing between him and the devil. Your brains are starting to melt too." And then Yuma shows up. Well, he was there, but he cuts in. It's like, "Yuma, stop." Then he tells Kaiku the story. "Our parents died from their brains oozing out. Chizumi tasted them as an infant, and now she can't get enough." He says, "It's all my fault, though." And Kaiku kind of believes Chizumi because she says, "Stop apologizing to me." Of course, he won't. He keeps apologizing to her, which is, basically killing her. So she runs away. All the faculty are dead. Everyone she sees is their brains are melted out. And he keeps chasing after her. And look at the look in his face. He's not apologetic. This is a weapon. He's trying to kill her. And she sees the devil behind him. I really like this panel. That's the way he draws the devil with just this, like, it's almost like smoke. So now we cut forward. She wakes up in a hospital bed. Her brain had started to melt, but it stopped just in time. And maybe it was because she fainted and she couldn't hear the apologies anymore. She doesn't know why. She finds out they told her that her parents have died. And she says she didn't really feel anything, probably because my brain is damaged. I don't know what happened to Yuma and Chizumi after that, she thinks. They probably went to another town to start it all over again. Dissolving beauty. So now we are introduced to a new character. This is Nao. N-A-O? Nao? And Nao is talking about how after 2 years of radio silence, she just got a call from an old friend, Maiko. And she's going to meet her and her new boyfriend. So she's kind of excited. So Maiko comes up and she looks at her face. Look at this bizarre, creepy face. And of course, Nao says, I'm sorry, who are you? And Maiko's incredulous. She says, are you joking? It's me, Maiko. And we see what Maiko used to look like. And she says, this is my boyfriend, and it's Yuma. And she realizes that the voice sounds just like Maiko. So she realizes, oh my God, this is Maiko. What the fuck happened? But she, doesn't want to, she wants to be diplomatic about it. And Maiko turns to Yuma and says, have I changed that much? He says, you haven't changed. You're beautiful. I worship your beauty. I can believe you, right? Yes. So basically, now Yuma has a new thing he does. He profusely compliments women. And it makes them uglier and uglier, like this woman. But because he constantly says they're beautiful, they don't even recognize it. It's almost like he brainwashes them. She even says, when I see old pictures of myself, I get the feeling that something's different. But then Yuma just keeps on paying me compliments, and I believe him. And, of course, Nao doesn't know any of this, Yuma's history. So she's just like, oh, you're so kind. Because he does seem very kind. He constantly tells his horrendously ugly girlfriend how beautiful she is. He tells her that your beauty is exceptional. And God, she is. Junji Ito draws women so beautifully. And then, the next panel, Yuma ended up dumping Maiko and dated me instead. Of course, Maiko was furious. She kind of stalked them. And Yuma would apologize to her. So he's still got that in his bag of tricks. So now they're dating. Everything seems great. And he constantly is complimenting her, telling her how she's the most beautiful girl in the world. And it starts to happen to her. And, but he keeps telling her how beautiful she is. And she's like, oh, I was worried. I thought I was starting to look different. Of course, her parents could tell the difference. And especially she's transformed into this. This is like Lena Hyena level of ugly. It's kind of interesting seeing Junji Ito draw someone like this, because he usually draws people so kind of attractively, but oh my God, it's horrifying. So the parents were like, oh my God, you look seriously ill. And she's still just like, no, that's crazy. My boyfriend says how beautiful I am. But she looks at pictures of herself and she can almost, through the brainwashing, say, yeah, I think I am changing. And she just gets uglier and uglier. And then Chizumi shows up. Chizumi calls her a monster. And I guess this is something he's done many times, because Chizumi's like, he got you too, huh? He's not really flattering you, though. He's not really saying those things to you. He's saying them to the devil. He's singing the praises of the devil's beauty. So those electromagnetic waves also do this. They make your brain melt or they turn you ugly. Yuma shows up and says, stop telling these horrible stories, ridiculous stories, Chizumi. And he just keeps complimenting her because she needs reassurance. And she just, look at this Basil Wolverton homage here. Look at those teeth. It's amazing. And we see, really, he's complimenting Satan, who's behind her. And then he disappears without saying a word to Nao. And this is so sad, this last panel. She says, but I'll never forget what he told me. I'm the most beautiful girl in the whole universe. Look at her. Everyone's just horrified. Hey. Next, we have Dissolving Apartment. And I guess Yuma and Chizumi have moved into a new apartment. Apartment 202. And this is the weirdest thing. So the other apartments get a knock on the door, and it's Yuma and Chizumi's parents, who are supposedly long dead. They kind of look like zombies. And they just come by to say hello. And they give everyone in the apartment a little gift, a little mochi. This one girl eats it, and says it tastes funny, and then she gets horribly sick, painfully sick. She lives right under them, so she hears horrible violence every night, yelling. She hears the parents berating Yuma, calling him stupid and useless and slapping him around. I never should have given birth to you, like really verbally abusive stuff. And of course, she's just like, oh man, what the hell? So this woman, she compares notes. Oh, her name's Ogawara. Ogawara goes to other neighbors, and they all share the same story. Yeah, they gave us some mochi, and we all got horribly sick. This guy, Arashiyama, he's right next door to them. And he's also very worried about the noises coming from the house, because it sounds like these poor kids are being abused. When they go, they actually ring on the doorbell. They say, we got to talk to them. Chizumi comes out with Band-Aids all over her face. She tells them, she says, my parents died when I was a baby. And I'm going to keep forgetting his name. Arashiyama says, we know your parents are alive. We saw them. Will you tell us when they come back? And she says, I told you, they're dead. And she's kind of sassing them. And then that night, this head starts bobbing from the upstairs, right outside her window, and it's screaming, "I am Chizumi's mother!" And we see the brains coming out of her eye sockets, and of course it's Chizumi holding this little whatever the hell it is. Now later on, Yuma comes to her apartment, and of course he apologizes. He says, "I'm sorry about the mochi being spoiled." And he goes to every apartment and apologizes. So this guy, Agariyashi, he's just every night hearing this, the yelling and the violence. He says, "I'm going up there again. This has got to stop." And finally they get to see the parents again. And they say, "You have no right to tell us how to discipline our kids." And they slam the door in their face. So the old lady, the sweet old lady, she invites Chizumi over for cake. And she basically is trying to have an intervention. She says, you could stay here as long as you like, you and your brother, if you want to get away from your parents. And Chizumi just she doesn't seem traumatized at all. She's a little devil. And she tells them that she just likes putting on Band-Aids for fun. And so they're like, "You don't get beaten by your parents?" And she says, "No, only Yuma, because he's a masochist. He likes it." And then they hear more of the turmoil. Mr. Arishiyama, he can't take it anymore. He runs back up, pounds on their door. And the father asks Arishiyama, he says, "How would you like to go to hell with us?" And then their eyes start dripping. They start melting, and then Yuma comes out really hamming it up with the "I'm sorry's." He's being so crazy about it, like grabbing his leg. The guy pushes him away. He's like, "Cut it out." And Yuma keeps lunging at him, grabbing him by the waist, until finally he gets violent with Yuma. And then this panel is kind of funny. They're all kicking the shit out of Yuma. The parents, this Mr. Arashiyama is joined in with their abuse of their son. So, of course, our hero, our heroine, who I've already forgot her name, she runs up and says, "What are you doing?" She tries to protect him. They take Yuma back to the old lady's place. And he says, "Thank you for the offer, but I'm going home. I love my parents." And then this wet stain appears on the ceiling, right under their apartment. And Chizumi says, "Oh, it's that mustache man, Yashiami. He finally melted." And then, I'm sorry, so that was his apartment above the old lady's. The Yuma and Chizumi live above the young heroine. So they run up to the room once again. The parents, it looks like they're killing Yuma, but they're also dying. Their brains are melting. And before they can kill him, they totally melt. And right then, all the apologizing finally has affected our young heroine and the sweet old lady. And they start melting. And then Chizumi just laughs and says, "Well, time to move again," as Yuma basically bathes in the gore of these four people. Now we have Chizumi in love. So once again, another school. There's a strange rumor going around about a creepy girl who appears on the sidewalks threatening people. And then her brother comes by and apologizes profusely. And then the victims disappear, leaving only a stain. So now we see this little kid, Tomohito, and he's walking home one day and he sees Chizumi. And she starts chasing him. And we realize she really is supernatural. It looks like she's leaping, like a block at a time. She tackles him and then she licks his face with her giant, disgusting tongue. She says, "You're really cute." And then she starts singing this weird song. "Take a lick, take a tasty lick, la la la, take a bite, take a tasty bite." And then Yuma shows up and he basically says, "I have to apologize for you all the time. Stop it." And of course, Chizumi knows what's going on. She's like, "Shut up. You love it." And he apologizes to her, and I love this. She says, "What, are you trying to kill me? I know what that does. You can't do that to me. It just makes me stronger." So he's strangling her. He just wants, I guess, all this whole vicious cycle to end, maybe. He blames her for his life being so messed up. Messed up. But then she scratches his arms with her claw-like nails. And he releases his grip. And he realizes that she's in love with that poor little Tomohito. So Tomohito comes home. And his mom says, "Oh, this young man came by, very polite. He would apologize for what his sister did to you. What happened?" He's like, "Mom," so Tomohito knows the rumor and the legend. He says, "Don't ever open the door again. Don't let him ever apologize to you." She just thinks it's a silly, urban legend. And it seems like Tomohito becomes ill. And I guess Yuma showed up to the father, too. He apologized to him. So the next day he doesn't go to school. Tomohito's sick. And he runs downstairs. And he wakes up and he hears that his mother's talking to someone at the front door. Runs downstairs. It was Yuma again. And she keeps remarking. It's very strange. She keeps saying, "What a strange boy, but really, he's very good looking." She keeps talking about how good looking he is. And the father and the mother are talking about it, and they start laughing, and they start oozing. So I guess he apologized to them enough. He runs outside. Chizumi's waiting for him. And then he meets Yuma. He says, come with me. You can stay at my house. You can hide here. But then he tells him, oh, my sister really has a crush on you. So you're not... Oh, my God, look at her here. Trying to get all dolled up. Horrifying. So he says, my sister's in love with you, so you can't leave. And do you think you could love her back? Because I think that might help her. It seems like she's changed a little since she's had this crush on you, for the better. So they tie him up, and she's just insane, this little girl. She does this weird little dance and sings that licking song again. She starts licking his face. Then she bites him. And now we find a little bit more about the family history. He says Chizumi is evil by nature because she's the devil's child. Their mother fornicated with the devil. So she's literally got the devil in her. Now we find out that they save and bottle all of that icky brain goo for Chizumi to drink whenever she feels like it, because she loves it. They even name it by the person they're from. So this guy Tanaka, I guess, he had enough brain goo to fill 2 bottles, and they labeled it Tanaka. So she's chugging this stuff. She keeps harassing little Tomohito, licking his face. And of course, he's miserable. He just wants to be let go. And then there's the weirdest thing. The bottles of all these people's fluids start talking to him. I guess because it's brain goo. And they basically say, we've got to help this little boy. They're all talking amongst themselves. They basically pop their own corks. And they spill all the goo. And they say, use the grease of our, goo to slide out of your ropes and escape. So he does. He runs away. And when he gets home, his parents are already they're stains. They're gone. Now we have Interview with the Devil. And we have a return of Kaiko. She's now in a wheelchair. She's pretty much brain dead. She can't talk. She's not completely brain dead, but she's definitely mentally impaired. She's with this guy, and he says, let's see if they're here at this house. And he opens the door. He smells that rancid smell, and it's Yuma. And he's a reporter, this guy. His name's Hamoka. And Hamoka is had been following the story. Enough people have died in Japan that this is more than just a rumor now. There's just a lot of people dying every time Yuma shows up. All over Japan, because they keep wandering around every time they have to leave a town. So he says, I'd like you to meet someone, Kaiko. I think you know her. And so just recently, she can say a few words now. Of course, Yuma's just like, what the hell? And then he acts all happy to see her. How did you know where I was? And she starts screaming. And then he starts apologizing. And then she really starts screaming. And then Chizumi shows up like a devilish little imp on the ceiling laughing. And she tells them the whole story. Tells them about Yuma making a pact with the devil. So basically, her brain, Kaiko's brain has melted a bit, but just not fully. So that's why she's mentally impaired. And he keeps apologizing. And the reporter realizes, he's like, uh-oh, maybe these rumors are true. And he rushes Keiko out of there before he can harm her more. Such a bizarre concept. So he goes back to the place, and Hamoka goes back, and he sees that all this ooze was like kind of poured down the sink. All the bottles were emptied, and they're on the run. They're like, okay, we got to find another place to live. They're on to us. So they bury their parents' heads in the ground, and they speak to Yuma. They say, what a terrible son you are. Of course, he apologizes to him, and he apologizes very emphatically. So their heads like kind of implode or explode. We see them here, they're all immolated. So now Hamoko talks to his editor-in-chief at the Daily News. And he says, yeah, I got a strong tip here. I'm on this case. I'm really, I'm close to getting it solved. Turns out that Keiko, due to her brain melting, kind of has a mild psychic power. So she can, like, kind of tell Hasoko where Yuma's going to be. And so he also finds out about little Tomohito from the last story. He says, yeah, we suspect that he abducted this kid. And the boy's testimony might give us more clues. But then, like, the next day, Tomohito is found murdered. Brutally murdered. So he tells the editor-in-chief, and of course he's like, oh, shit, who did it? Do we have any leads? And Yuma has an alibi. It was confirmed that him and Chizumi were in a real estate office trying to get an apartment, but they had no guarantor, so they couldn't. Because Kaiku basically told them about it. So once again, he goes to the hospital to visit Keiko. He has a map of Japan. He's like, show me where they are. Show me where they are. And they're camping out. They couldn't find an apartment, so they got a tent. And the siblings are in the middle of the forest. And they start, Yuma hears voices. Give us back our bodies. Turn us back. You won't forgive. We'll never forgive you. How dare you melt us? So it's his victims. He runs outside of the tent, and Hasako's there. I'm sorry, Hamoka. And he basically says, I'm on to you. I think you're the cause of all this. I want you to explain yourself. Of course, he starts apologizing. He says that's not going to work on me. I don't believe in anything so unscientific. So Yuma grabs Chizumi and runs that as fast as he can. So he publishes the story. So now everyone kind of knows about these two. So then the next day, they show up at the newspaper offices. Hamoka's not there, but Mr. Mori, the editor-in-chief, introduces himself, very friendly. And it turns out that Hamoka basically set up this whole conference for them. He rented out a conference hall. There's going to be live streaming, and Yuma is going to address basically the world because it'll be broadcast. Of course, this doesn't seem like a good idea, does it, when you think about what Yuma can do? So then Hamoka goes to visit Kaiku again, and we realize he's not the nice guy we thought he was. He's talking all sinister. He basically, the whole farce with the map, with her picking out the sites on the map, that was a farce. And he says, I'm going to take you to the public apology tomorrow. And we realize that he's Satan himself. That is so eerie. Kaiku just goes, "Ee!" So now it's the big day. And Yuma and Chizumi come out to the stage. And of course, it's like as you imagined, as strong or more emphatically than he's ever done. He says, "I'm so very, very sorry." And look at it, it's like a force wave. It looks like the people in the audience are like, whoa, it's like a hurricane. And he just keeps apologizing. And Chizumi's like, "Go for it, brother." She knows what he's up doing. And Hamoka, well, I should say the devil, makes sure that Reiko's right there, dead center. And everyone starts melting. Their brains start melting. Kaiko gets up, and before she can even reach Yuma, she's just completely dissolves. And Chizumi licks up the fluid. So gross. But then Yuma hears a voice, "No more. Give us back our bodies. We'll never forgive you." And the ceiling is covered in this goop, the people goop. And it rains down on top of Chizumi and Yuma. Giant globs of it that seem to drown them. The horrible spectacle that transpired at the press conference was spread all over the world by the media. As for what happened to the people who watched it and where the Ozawa siblings are now, well, that will have to be left to your imagination. Oh, man. So it's like pretty apocalyptic because that thing went out to the world. So basically, you can imagine that a lot of people in the world have got their brains melted now. So now we have the two little bonus horror stories. And this one's called The Return. This woman says to her boyfriend, she says, "I'll come back for you." She's dying. And she says, I promise I'll come back. So he basically believes her, and he feels her presence. He really believes that she has come back. He just has to find her. He even goes to the maternity wards and the nurseries, and he looks at the babies, thinks that maybe she was reincarnated. And he's just, of course, perplexed because he can feel that she's around. But he can never find her. One day, he hears Yuka, that's his girlfriend's name, hears her voice coming from the sky, and it's a giant meteor. The meteorite falls, and the media reported that it struck and killed a person because there's a corpse of someone right in the middle of the crater under the meteor. But he knows the real truth. She was in that meteor, and like whole. She was almost like a little egg, but when it landed, it totally obliterated her. And, just to make sure, he finds her charred, broken hand, and it's got his engagement ring on it. And he says, "Welcome back, Yuka." Not much of a story, but really beautifully drawn. And this one's called Children of the Earth. Apparently there was a kindergarten class trip to the forest, and they all disappeared. They never returned. So all the parents are out, a giant search party looking for the kids. And they hear a noise behind this in this forest clearing. And all their kids are like buried up to the earth. Buried up to their chests in this kind of soft earth. They look like they're all dazed. So they run towards them. The parents find their kids, and they say, "We've got to get you out of here. Why are you buried up to your chest in this?" And look what happens when they pull them. She says, "You're so heavy." Oh my God, that's so terrifying. Also kind of like Plastic Man. And it seems to be no end to them. Of course, they're like, "What the hell's going on?" And then all of a sudden they retract. And they get sucked back into the ground all the way. One by one, the kids just go whoop, 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 down into these holes. The holes went deep into the earth. The children were never found again. This is a very dopey one. I mean, he just had a kernel of an idea. But that's the thing with Ito. Even when he just has this throwaway thing, this is such a nightmarish idea. These retractable, I don't know what the hell. Like, there's no explanation. It's just horrifying. And I think Ito was just like, that's a scary image. I dreamt that last night. I don't want to make a whole 40-page story elaborating on it. I just want to show you this terrifying nightmare image. Excuse me, guys. I gotta get some water. And so then we have this weird afterword where the actor who plays Yuma addresses us. He says, I'm Jiro Yamada, and I played Yuma in Dissolving Classroom. He talks about how apology press conferences are major events now. It's become a trend. Everyone loves to do it. And at the very last panel, I was like, hey, I'm Chizumi. I played Chizumi. So she played herself, I guess. And then we have the credits here. I can't remember if I mentioned, but this is from 2015. So just another salvo of terrifying manga from Junji Ito and Dissolving Classroom. Like I said, this is definitely not my favorite Ito. In fact, I think this is my least favorite easily. I probably read like 10 of his books. And, I mean, it's a high standard. I really love his stuff. And this one is amazing. It's a really crazy read. It's just crazy fun gore. But the whole premise is just odd to me and kind of silly. So, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. But it's still better than, creepier and scarier than, like, I don't know, 95% of all horror comics ever made. So, totally recommend it. Just not as much as his other stuff. Ito, I think this guy's a master. And even when he takes a misstep in my book like this, I still think it's fun. This is just still a great graphic novel. Whatever, collection of stories. It's just a little goofy and weird. Hope you guys like looking at it. Hope I didn't scare you too much. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.